say that the body controls the mind. You know, I think a lot of times when I grew up, it was like, well, if you're just strong enough mentally, you can get through anything. But I think it all starts with the physical. I think for me to control my mental mood, my capacity, my curiosity, my resilience, to me that starts with just the physical activity. If I take care of the body, then that usually takes care of the mind.
Look at me, habibi. Dubai Jeep, let's get it. Look at me, habibi. Dubai Jeep, let's get it. Bags expensive.
Don't touch me. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. No, I have to back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up.
Welcome to another episode of Stroke of Success. It's your favorite host, KB. Today's episode is super, super special. The individual in front of me is making a return, has come back to the podcast after a year. The individual in front of me has a story where if you're out and about right now and you're feeling down and you are maybe, looking for a career or a change in your life, stay tuned, because this individual and his partners came together years ago with a vision to help people, to impact people's life. And I hope you can value out of this. To welcome my guest today, Brett Young. How are you?
Good to see you again, man.
Good to see you, man.
It's great. Love it. It's good to be back in the studio.
You know what, man? I was just thinking about it, though. I got a Google reminder or Microsoft. It pulls up pictures from the past. The first time we met was at a Robert Slack event. I was like 20 pounds heavier, by the way. I looked at the pictures, and I went to speak. Before that, I saw these three handsome guys pull in front of us. It was I think Orlando update or something Dan was doing.
Yep.
And these three handsome guys, tall guys, pull up with no socks, amazing suits. And I love suits. I'm into fashion. I'm like, man, are these guys new agents or two new team leaders? And all the females looking around, right? And then I went to speak up, and then on the way back, you guys went to speak about your mission, your vision, how you can help Robert Slack and everyone else. And we connected after that.
Oh, remember that.
Remember that? You pulled me to the side, hey, man, I love your story. I'm like, I love your story.
So cool.
Ever since then, I think not only the professional side grew, but the friendship grew.
Totally.
Right?
A mutual affinity.
Yes.
Real recognizes real, and somebody sees somebody's heart. And I loved hearing, your challenge and triumphs and attitude, and taking something so disheartening and turning it into an inspiration. And I think there's just, all of us have somewhat of that in our lives,
100%.
At some point. And it might not be as extreme, but we learn through these experiences, and you're just a walking testimonial of what's possible of taking, challenge to triumph. So I just immediately, even, obviously Taylor and Rod, my partners, we all three looked at each other and be like, dude, that's a cool dude. We got to meet that guy.
Same here. And, and everything you said about me, same I can say for you. So, just to jump in. So last time we were here, all three partners were here. We talked about how you guys came together. It's interesting. I was looking back to the last previous interview, how you got into an industry that didn't have a quick gratification.
Sure.
Talk about that. And you guys applied that to your life now.
Sure. Well, I think right now, if I'm being transparent, I think right now in this market is the first time in 13 years that the reason that we decided to get in the insurance business, the philosophy, the driving ideology behind that decision is now actually showing fruit. I got into the business in 2008, right, as the Great Recession was happening, right? And so that was probably the other time, but I was too young in the business to really feel the impact because I was brand new, right? I had nothing necessarily to quote unquote lose or that was contracting or anything like that.
No wife, no kids.
At that point in time, I was engaged, but I wasn't married, no kids. But before that happened, I met those. Obviously, I've known my brother since my whole life, and had the opportunity to come together and work together came later. But for me, it was about learning some principles on entrepreneurship and business that a mentor had kind of inserted into our subconscious, I guess, early on, which was the power of residual income. doing something one time and getting paid over and over and over again. We see that now with SaaS models. Everybody wants a SaaS model with tech, but at the end of the day, whether it's a subscription service, whether it's an insurance product, whatever it may be, a recurring charge for setting something up one time. This was 20 years ago. I was like, I would never do anything if I didn't have residual income. And that was interesting to me. That got my attention. I was like, wow, okay. Well, first of all, what is that? And then secondly, like, how do I do that? That was number one. And then he said, number two, I would never do anything if it didn't have leverage associated to it. And what he meant by leverage was really utilizing, attracting, developing, and retaining, and getting people to work together. When it comes to talent. So getting into some sort of mechanism to where you can aggregate talent together and get people to work together. And he's, Paul J. Getty had a great quote that he would always say, which is, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. And so these two components always interested me because, he was very adamant about that. And then as I was going through college, I got introduced to a gentleman who was in the property and casualty insurance space. And I had called 10 different people to get on different industries, got to know what I wanted to do in college, met this guy, he spent 2.5 hours with me and he started telling me all about the business. And I realized at that point that this had those components in it. And that's kind of how we settled in on the property and casualty space. But yeah, it takes a long time to build. It's a high barrier to entry just because, you make a little bit over a long period of time. But then once you've accumulated a lot of those policies on the book of business, right, you have this recurring residual revenue. It's very recession proof. It's very recession resistant. So even if you see a contraction in the market, the book of business is extremely solid. And so there's kind of a trade-off, right? It takes longer to build, and it goes slower than other industries. But once you've incurred that revenue, it's much more difficult to have it eroded away. So there's a lot more security. And so, like I think right now, even with just real estate kind of contracting as far as number of transactions, we're heavily in regards to just helping with closings, whether it comes to different industries that have kind of seen a lull with inflation and with interest rates. We've been able to maintain a steady growth rate, and it's been good. And even in the midst of some really hard challenges with the insurance market, the business is very resilient. And so I think it's the first time in 13 years that we've looked at each other and said, man, I'm glad we picked this business, because it took a long time. It's not easy, but once you build it, it's a pretty cool asset class to be able to, participate in.
Yeah. So I think we talked about Patrick and David before this. We're both admirers of his business ethics and what he's built his company, and I went to his convention. You should check it out. It's called The Vault. Has been every year. Yeah. He's doing it here in Orlando this next up and coming year. It'll be here in Orlando, Central Florida. And I meet a lot of his old insurance people who initially who started the company with them, and now he paid them equity and they're good to go. But they all say the same thing, man. It's like in real estate, I think in upfront you can make more money with the commission when you sell the house. But I think recession-proof and market-proof insurance is the way to go. It's just, it kind of comes down to just what's more important to you. Right. There's always pros and cons to every business. And, thank goodness there's not a best one, in my opinion, because then we'd all be fighting over the same one. Sure. I just think another thing, my dad told me this when I was growing up. He says, what do you want your perfect day to look like? Wow. And I was like, man, that's a tough question, And he's like, well, when you get clear on what that is, you'll be able to pick a business, because that's what matters. It's the Tuesday with nothing drastic going on of what your normal cadence you want it to look like. That should determine which industry and which business you choose, not what the highest high looks like and what the lowest low looks like. So, and I wanted to have autonomy. I wanted time freedom. I wanted the ability to be able to walk away from the business and, it's to at least maintain it or grow. And then also I wanted to be in business that had a long, long tail. So something that has been around a long time. Technology is one of those things that is very sexy right now, and it's in everything. And, it's even, young kids getting out of school, they want to be in the latest tech, which is super fun. But also some of these businesses have been around for 6 months, 8 months, a year, right? You don't know if they're going to have these longevities. Insurance is one of those businesses. If it's not the oldest, it's one of the oldest behind banking in regards to just that it's been around. And it's evolving and it will always change, but it seems pretty
seems like a pretty reasonable prediction that as long as we're still giving out credit, that we're going to have a need to be able to insure that stuff. So I think it just depends on what somebody wants, and I think it just depends on what's important to somebody.
No, you're right. That's true. I was very close to getting into insurance. I was right there. Like imagine a fork in the road. There's real estate and insurance and mortgages. And I went to real estate with my uncle. My family went to real estate investors and a family thing. And I jumped into it. I'm really happy. It worked out really well.
Yeah, we're trying to make insurance sexy again.
Yes.
You know, it's
and
the no socks.
You guys are doing a great job at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, remind you guys. I mean, so my wife and I we met your brother in Rod. And after that, like whenever my wife will talk, your name comes up, she calls you the brothers. All you three are the brothers, right?
I love
Insurance
that.
brothers. And you guys are. Even though Rod is not your blood brother, but he's your brother.
Yeah, totally.
And you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see the fact that, you guys are so connected. And y'all all are tall, good-looking, well-dressed individuals in making insurance sexy again. Dude, you're so committed. And this is not just to kiss your butt on camera. You know how I feel about you. You inspire me sometimes.
I appreciate that, man. Vice versa.
You wake up in the morning, you do these workouts with your team every day. You have beautiful wife, beautiful family. God bless you for that. I'm sure that comes with a cost to upkeep, not for the lifestyle, but emotionally to be there for the family, your kids and your wife. So you're putting work in there. And what I can see right now, your marriage life is going pretty good.
Thanks, man.
The business is doing great. But then I see you at 10 o'clock at night doing a video about a lesson, a tidbit, and you can see you're still fresh as you were in the morning. Very similar to Patrick Bet-David.
Wow.
Like, you see Patrick in a suit at 12 o'clock at night coming off a private jet, and you can see the same person. Coming back to Patrick Bet-David, he'll speak on stage. I saw him just like this close. He'll go for hours without peeing. Standing. He's 45. I'm 42, turning 43 next month. He's turned 45 recently. How old are you?
Just turned 40, the big 4-0.
So you're in the club. See, the body changes a little bit, right? But the guy stands. He just has the mental fortitude. Tell me, what's your secret sauce, man?
Well, I don't know if I have a secret sauce, but I mean, if I had to nail down something, I would just say that the body controls the mind. I think a lot of times when I grew up, it was like, well, if you're just strong enough mentally, you can get through anything. But I think it all starts with the physical. I think for me to control my mental mood, my capacity, my curiosity, my resilience, to me, that starts with just the physical activity. If I take care of the body, then that usually takes care of the mind. So my fitness routine is usually is the biggest thing. It's the domino effect. It's the flywheel to all personal progress in my life.
Okay, so you are saying the body, then the mind.
Yes.
Okay, so I've always, not always, but recently in my comeback story and changing my life, and I lost a lot of weight the last 10 years. I made a lot of changes in my lifestyle. I felt, and I still feel, if the mind is strong, they can go ahead and make the body stronger, the business, your marriage, all that stuff. And I'll tell you why. The same way we do reps for the arms and push-ups, right? We're doing resistance. Self-development, for me, strengthens the mind.
Yes.
So when I have a trainer, I'm in the gym, and I'm tired at 10 o'clock at night, I want to go home, and I had a rough day, the mind for me kicks in and overtakes the body.
I love that. I think they work hand in hand.
Yeah.
I think they reciprocate. For me, I could just say when I'm priming, like if you would go to Tony Robbins, by the way, Unleash the Power Within Incredible,
Amazing.
He calls it priming. And so psychology and physiology make up your state.
Yes.
Right? And so much I think of fitness as people think fitness is just, well, this is me getting in shape, me being healthy. For me, it is not. For me, I have to prime my physical body to create the energy that I want throughout the day. And if I don't do that, I have to use willpower. And willpower does work, and it's important at certain times. But for me, willpower is not sustainable. Willpower is hard. Willpower is I'm having to beat against the current. Willpower is just so difficult. But when I'm in flow state and when I'm charged, I'm not using willpower. It's easy because I want to. Because I'm just, my body's in a different energy state. And so I agree with you in that. I think they work hand in hand, because there's certain times when the body's going to give out, right? You see these athletes that their bodies just completely give, and it's the mental fortitude that gets them to the other side. But to me, that's the short-term sprints. This is just my perspective. Those are the short-term sprints that get you to where you need to get to the sustainability. For me, long-term sustainability, when I'm training the body and I'm taking care of the body, when I'm putting the right things in my body, when I'm in the fitness routine, when I'm doing mindfulness, when I'm in meditation, when I'm taking care of the vessel, my energy output is just so much easier, you know? And so for me, that's kind of been my domino effect, because it wasn't always that way for me personally. I thought the fitness component was not directly related to achievement. It was simply just, well, if I want to get in shape, I'll do that. Or if I don't want to be out of shape, I'll eat better. And for me, it's way more about the energy that I'm able to produce during the day than it is about any of the health or the fitness components that come with it.
That's insane, bro. And you know what? You kind of changed my perspective today. That's so true. You saying, look, the willpower is there, and you could be in a meeting, and if you're tired, you have to now tap into that willpower bank. Sometimes that bank will be a little bit low, like a battery.
Exactly. It gets exhausted. Willpower only I feel like there's a duration of willpower until all of us can't do it anymore, right? And then as you build reps, maybe your willpower gets expanded, right? My willpower might be different than somebody who just started on the journey, right? So I agree with you, it's a muscle, but it still there still is an empty to that tank. And I feel like there's an exhaustion that comes from that. I want to be in a place where I'm operating at a high level against big time problems, big time challenges, and it's happening effortlessly, not trying to pound my way through. And I used to be the guy that's, used to think everything was a battle. I used to pound my way through everything. It was a fight. And recently I have a coach, shout out to Michael Gonzalez. He's an NLP specialist, and I do a lot of identity work with him since the last 3-4 years. And, he says, hey man, life is a game. It's not a battle. You don't have to fight everything. Like, it could be effortless if you would just dance with it instead of fight against it. And it's changed my life. It's changed my perspective because it's made it more sustainable. And that was a very big shift for me that he helped me with, because it was always, what's the enemy of the day? And I'll go tackle it. And what ends up happening is it creates bitterness, anger, resentment, challenge, unsettledness, and I wasn't at peace. And so just a little shift has made it more fun and has made it light. And that's a cool gift, because anybody that's involved with trying to do something special, entrepreneurship, high level pressure when it comes to any type of achievement-based task, you will feel these emotions of just that pressure brings. And if you believe that when you leave the day, you have to go slay the dragon, there are secondary consequences over a long period of time that you don't see right now. Instead of, if you leave the house, you get to dance with divinity and co-create with life, and whatever comes up is for your good. There's just a shift in that's just so much more compelling of a reason to get up and go do it.
That's insane. So the reason I'm smiling right now, but you hit hit a chord with me right now. The whole topic you talked about, instead of slamming and going against it or for it or with it, instead of dancing with it. And NLP. So NLP is something I'm getting into, and I would love to talk to your coach if you give me the number after that.
Sure.
Is he local?
Yeah, he's great.
I'm looking into NLP for years now. I want to make that move into it, and understand it more. Tony Robbins on PBD show recently. If you haven't watched it, check it out. The podcast, amazing. And Tony Robbins is a huge NLP guy.
Yeah, the NLP guy, right? Yeah.
He made it popular.
Right.
But what you said right now, I'm the same way. I'm an 80s baby, raised in the 90s, right? And it's about hustling and tear it apart,
right,
and savagery, and I'm gonna kill it. The word kill it, right? You're killing it, man. You're killing it.
Yeah.
And you start to realize that as we all evolve, that's not the only way to do it.
Sure. I think there are definitely. I think it's just energy levels, right? When I'm going out, and, trust me, I'm a fellow savage. I love it, right? And
you should be.
You should be, because it allows
have the warrior
you
stuff into you.
Right, the warrior archetype of the mature masculine, right? Like I'm able to summon this level of energy to tackle a problem. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just what I have found is there are secondary psychological consequences if you consistently do that. For example, I have to transition to come home to my 2 beautiful children and my wife, who is not in the same game as me. And so I come in with edges, sharp edges, because I just came from the battlefield. And now I'm supposed to transition to this loving, caring husband and father. And sometimes that transition takes me too long. It might take 2.5 hours to transition when I get home. And by that time, the kids are asleep. And so I miss these beautiful moments because I'm psychologically not primed to be able to coexist with both of these environments. So like for me, it's just one of those situations where I've just had, it's been a long journey where it says, how do I get all of this and live in both of these states simultaneously? And that doesn't mean I don't shift from character when the time is needed, but trying to live a more balanced archetype instead of I'm the warrior when I go here, I'm the king when I go here, and I'm a lover when I get home. You know, it's like, how do I take all of those components and blend them together and have some sort of balance? And I'm still working on that today. It's still a challenge.
Did NLP help you with that?
Oh, tremendously.
Yeah.
Tremendously. You know,
Talk about NLP journey of yours. So NLP,
linguistic language programming.
right, is a way of language that one can use to communicate back to their mind.
That's right.
And with others.
That's right. It's changing the subconscious, right? We all have pre-programmed behaviors. We're either deleting information that comes in, distorting the information that comes in, or we're generalizing the information that comes in based upon our childhood traumas, based upon our experiences, based on our beliefs, based upon these preset frameworks that all of us operate through. But what's interesting is none of us have usually take time to understand what those are and are they serving us, right? Like, so we might have things that protected us 20 years ago from ourselves, but now today it's not serving us. So forcing us to kind of take what's in the subconscious, that it's always running in the background, right? 99% of what we do is subconscious. So there's a script running back there that determines how we react to things, our mood, our actions. And so taking that out and putting it on the table and being honest with ourselves to say, well, why is it this way? And is that the best thing that's serving me? And if we're honest with ourselves, most of us, if not all of us, just being human, there are things that we've learned that are not in our best interest today. And NLP allows us to reformat that and reinstall that back to the subconscious so it changes our programming. So now what may have triggered us in the past doesn't trigger us anymore. What may set us off when we hear something doesn't bother us as much anymore. Or maybe it still bothers us, but we're aware enough to know that it bothers us, so we're still able to act in a more appropriate way that's more serving for us and more connected to our higher self. So NLP is one of those things that's just like, it's almost a discovery and exploration of the self, because a lot of us the reason why we do things and the way that we behave many times has very little to do with our conscious decision making. It has to do with our environment, what we've learned growing up, traumas that have happened, and addressing those and bringing those to the forward, in front of us allows us to recalibrate those that are more optimal for the rest of our life. A better framework to live life through.
Amazingly said, man. When did you learn about this?
So I Unleashed the Power Within. I went with Rod Taylor and I probably, 12 years ago, 11 years ago.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah. Changed my life. We did it together, and it kind of opened the door of like, okay, identity work, right? Like, so first, it's easy to change the behaviors. It's very simple. It's very difficult to change your identity. Right? Like, that's a difficult thing. The reason somebody doesn't get up and work out every morning is because they don't believe that they're the type of person that does that. It's not that it's hard getting up and doing that. It's just that they don't believe that they do that. So if we change the fact that, well, no, that's just something I do as a person, that's just one of my things that I do, well, then getting the behavior is actually very, very simple. And so this kind of was sparked at that event, and then the three of us have been interested in it for a long time, and we've read books and from afar. And then I had an opportunity to work with Mike our paths kind of crossed, and it was a really cool, synchronicity. And then through that experience, we actually developed, through Urban Young University, we have what's called a master class. And so what Rod Taylor and I were doing with Mike, he developed curriculum to now offer it to our entire team.
That's amazing.
Which is really cool. So we pay for half, the team member pays for half. It's a 6-month course. It's based on this curriculum we're talking about. And it's, our entire company is based on personal development. We're a personal development company that happens to sell insurance. And there's no better way to allow somebody the tools to develop than really equipping them with tools of changing of how they perceive themselves. And if you can change the way that you perceive yourself, usually the actions become, they become self-conscious.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So NLP, you have incorporated in your life.
It's a practice.
Yeah. Right. How much has it affected with your marriage?
Tremendously. Yeah.
How was your marriage before it? And I know it's hard to rate, but
yeah. I mean, she's the love of my life. Our marriage has been incredibly great. I think where it's been challenged in years past is as the pressure from the business heats up, she gets the blunt of that pressure, and so that's been unfair at times, where, I bring home the challenge and the pressure and the stress of, feeling like, sometimes the weight of the world's there. And so I think where it's helped me is embracing why and understanding why I do that. It's having a better, clear picture, an understanding of what is reality and what is a story. Because a lot of NLP is just, there's a story playing in the back of our mind. And all of us have a story playing. If we change the story, well, then we change our reality. And so being able to rewire that and at least work on that has allowed me to be just more present and not come home and dump on her. It's where, she still has to be a therapist every once in a while, but it shouldn't be every day. It shouldn't be one of those things where she's got to put the pieces back together for, a man that's broken because, he comes home and he doesn't understand how to process the things that he said he's asked for and that he's gotten. And so I think for me, it's been able to be a bridge, to be more of the man that I want to be relative to the man that, I was.
What you said right now, that you guys are primarily a self-development company that sells insurance. I remember last time you were here, y'all three, the brothers, I call insurance brothers, you guys were talking about how you guys are a self-development company that sells insurance. I love it. Matter of fact, I'm working towards that in my med spa, in our med spa, newer med spa, where before I get there, I'm a huge self-development person.
Yeah, you are.
You know
we connect. Yeah.
That's where we connected. Stroke happened, lost everything, found connection to God again, found self-development again, and found entrepreneurship. 3 things that changed my life forever. And now I have a new company, a startup, you can say. I have young females. We're a female-driven business. Young females in my office, my company. And I am inspired to do the same self-development that does aesthetics. So I want to not only do the face and the body and aesthetics part of the individual, but also the mind. It's hard for me. It's been difficult for me to have my team adapt the routines, self-development. They're young.
Yeah, it's hard.
21, 22, 23. We were once that age.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you say, hey, you're a new hire, you're coming on board, this is something we believe in? How do you
install the program? Yeah.
Do they reject it sometimes? What do you do?
All the time. I think you have to meet people where they are and then bring them to where you want to go. So many times we want to just bring people where we are. And I think it just doesn't work. So the challenge with that is, it sounds great, but it requires an enormous amount of patience. And so it happens all the time. People come into our organization and they say they believe in the values, and behind, I can see them kind of roll their eyes. Like, what is this self-development? What is this personal development thing? And over time, slowly but surely, you have these events that happen and a maturity that happens, and someone goes, wow, there must be something to this. And I think articulating it in a way, I think personal development is the word in itself is not do justice of what it actually is. It's giving yourself the tools to live a more fulfilling life. If I said, hey, you know, we believe in equipping you with some tools that'll help you live a more prosperous, fruitful, more fulfilling life, they'd be like, wow, that sounds pretty awesome. But if I say, hey, we do a lot of personal development, they're like, that sounds weird to me. You know, like, what is that? You guys read books and go to seminars? Like, I don't know what that is. It's like, you can do whatever you want, whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's a book, whether it's talking to a mentor, whether it's
processing with the mentor.
Absolutely. Whether it's debriefing about a situation that happened of how you can do it better. It's the process of becoming more. And as we go through life, isn't that the whole human need? We're trying to be more than we were yesterday. 100%. It's like the ascension of the human experience, right? To try to get back to the divine. Sure. So I think it's about patience. I think it still happens in our organization, even though it's the bedrock of what we do. And, you know, it's about consistency for us. So like we have specific systems and processes where we are exposing team members to different development things, and they can either choose to engage in it on a more thorough level, or they can at least be exposed to it, but they're not going to be able to completely hide from it, but we're also not going to force it, you know, to them. The master class is a perfect example. It's voluntary, right? It's in depth. It's high level personal development. Like it's one-on-one coaching. We're going through childhood traumas. We're going through a lot. I mean, it's one-on-one with coach. We did those fitness that you see in the morning. We're training the fitness. If we can learn to be the person that does the thing as far as fitness is concerned, well, then we can learn to reshape the behaviors. So that's one of the reasons why we do the fitness. It's much easier to change the body than it is to change the mind. So being patient and giving people the ability to go deeper when they want to go deeper, but then also just having a consistency of exposing people to information. And over a period of time, you know, I think as we mature, we end up looking for these tools because we need them. But if I say, hey, this is really good for you in the next 5 years, here's 5 tools to help you, and you don't have those problems right now, you're going to look at me and go, that doesn't solve anything that I have right now, so I don't care about those tools. But you and I both know a life preserver is only valuable if you're in the middle of the ocean and you're sinking. As soon as you're in the ocean, you're going to be looking for that life preserver. And if you know that you were exposed to a life preserver 2-3 years ago, you might have a little bit more curiosity in someone throwing you a lifeline while you're in the water.
Yeah, 100%, man. So when you're hiring individuals, I'm bringing it back to my story, and I want you to jump on and share me your perspective. In the real estate game, when other team leader has to hire agents, it's a little different. It's commission only. It's you eat what you hunt. It's a different world, different perspective, different mindset. In the aesthetic industry that I'm in right now, it's an hourly wage, young individuals, big dreams. So it's a different, again, mindset, different perspective. I tend to hire a person based on their values and the culture they bring, instead of the skill set as much. An old mentor told me one time, hey, you can always teach the skill set. Of course, they should have the basic of it. If you have a salesperson coming in, they should know how to sell up to a certain point. But if they don't match the culture, don't hire them. What's your perspective on that?
100% line up with that.
Okay.
It's culture first, skill set second. You know, or you could say character first, skill set second. There are obviously different positions in different places where the specialized skill set becomes extremely important, right? Like if you're doing surgery on somebody, well, we're not going to hire for character only. Yes. Like that would probably be irresponsible. But for the most part, usually the skill set can be secondary because the integrity and the character of the individual has a longer tail. There are usually more negative consequences from having toxic character, culture, integrity than there are if somebody just doesn't do the craft as good as somebody else. So that is an absolute filter that we use. Still to this day, we have 4 interviews before we hire somebody, and they go out with the team and they interact with the team that they're going to be on. We actually take them outside of the office to interact because we're not looking for what's on the resume. We're not looking what their job experience. We're looking to see how they interact with other people. You know what is the vibe people get? Do they have etiquette? You know, are they respectful? Are they pleasant? These are just simple, basic principles that get overlooked in the workplace. You know, I think it was Napoleon Hill said, you know, one of the most important things to a successful man or woman is having a pleasant personality. But nobody talks about that. Nobody says one of the most important things, KB, is if you just develop a pleasant personality. It's almost as if it's understood, so we don't say it, but it's not understood. I can't tell you how many young people have come into the business and they interact with clients and they're not pleasant and they don't make it, because at the end of the day, there's these bottom line underlining principles in business or in just human interaction that are fundamental to having a good experience that we need to articulate to people, because they just they take them for granted. Like etiquette. Etiquette is something that you usually get from your parents, but some people don't get etiquette from their parents. And if you don't have good etiquette, it's just such a gatekeeper to all the abundance of life. These simple subtleties that are not obvious to some people. And, it's one of the things we've been, it's been a high level conversation in our walls to say, how do we teach some of these things and not assume that people were given this, on their upbringing, because you can't move on to level 3, 4, and 5 until you've mastered level 1 and 2. And these basic core fundamentals have way more of a negative consequence than skill sets of the craft, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah, you're right. I love the last part, levels. You can't jump to levels. You have to go to each level, do the work, make the foundation, and then move upward.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Okay, so we covered mindset, we covered NLP, we covered culture, how important culture is. So, I mean, this is a recipe. So if you're a person who is starting a company, or you own it, or you already have a company, and you're seeing your team maybe not performing at the level you want, this is a great podcast and great segue to talk about how NLP is a great tool. It's an investment you must make. I mean, yes, you can learn from YouTube. You can have a bunch of books on it. Tony Robbins is a guru. But to get a coach is probably one of the best things to do.
Yeah, there's levels to this game, right? Like there's, I wouldn't, it's probably not the best place to start. I would invest in stair step your way up. But, what better investment you are the greatest tool to your own level of achievement, right? Like living at cause or effect. If I live at effect, and it's whatever happens to me in life. If I live at cause, well, I am the cause of everything that occurs, right? Taking ownership and responsibility for these things allows you to be empowered to truly transform your life and make an impact and create. And if you're not taking care of you as the tool, as the instrument, it would be unreasonable to think that you're going to have all the things that you want out of life when you don't take care of the instrument. And if the instrument of you is the most powerful cause of those things, then it would make logical sense to pour disproportionate resources into recalibrating your mind, your body, your spirit, listening to podcasts like this, understanding how to find mentors, reaching out to people who have been successful and asking good questions, reading good content that's going to give you and equip you with different tools along the way to accomplish different, problems that you come across. So yeah, you are the ultimate machine of creation in your life. So it would be in your best interest to make sure that machine's taken care of.
Mentorship, man. Talk about mentorship for a little before we get into the company and the dynamics. For me, mentorship is huge. And more than ever before, I credit my success to the higher power. The divine it's always in control and there. But I don't think I will be where I am at from this age. I got into sales at age 19. From now, I'm 42. From 19 to 42, but just about 22 years of experience. Each level, every step of the way, every corner, there was a mentor.
Yeah.
And some just came and others I went after.
You're great at that, by the way.
Right?
You're really good. I watch
that.
you from afar and you seek out mentorship.
Oh, 100%.
I think it's one of the things that I look up to you the most.
Thank you.
Is you make stuff happen because you go get it. And there's a humility and there's a desire. And I think you're not going to just get access to mentors. They don't just give you access.
No.
But what they do, what I have seen is like people who get access to high level mentorship, which you interact with some incredible humans.
Appreciate that.
I think it comes down to the humility to know that you want and need the help, and then to a massive desire for coachability and you're craving information. You're craving it. And you do that better than anybody that I've ever seen.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, yeah, it changed my life. Look, I'm 40, 42, starting 43 next month. I'm not ashamed. I still don't know everything, right?
I don't know anything.
And, you know, you're successful in your own way, and an amazing company, all this stuff. But same thing with you guys, man. You guys are always open. You have these amazing guests on your podcast that and I go back and I look at the background, and the question you guys are asking is, you're doing the same thing. And I think if you're 22, 23, 24, you're going to real estate, you're going to insurance, you're selling cars, you're maybe an entrepreneur, maybe you're a young doctor, lawyer. Always go in with an open mind. When you are standing in a room and you are the smartest and the most financially set, you're in the wrong room. That's what I believe.
And how do you get in those rooms? Because for me, early on, it was like, okay, well, that makes sense. But what I've realized is like, well, the key is not knowing that you need to be in the room. For me, the key is like, how do you get in the room? And that's a challenge, because having access to those types of people is not something that just happens because you raise your hand and say, hey, I want access to ask you a bunch of questions, right? It usually comes with cost.
Most of the cost.
You know, you have to pay for that. Creativity, right? Like, you don't just call on somebody one time. You know, I can't imagine how many people you've called, or the people you've had on this podcast, the events that you've gone to, and you want behind the scenes access. You know, usually they tell you no, and you're going to take the no for the first time, and you're going to take it for face value. It's usually someone that says, all right, I'm going to ask multiple times, but I'm going to ask more creatively. You know, how can I add value? Hey, if I buy this VIP ticket, you know, if I get this access, you know, if I do all these different things to get access to this, you have to see the value in the access too. Someone who doesn't see the value in the access says, well, I'm not going to pay for that. That doesn't make sense, you know? So, but you go, man, you can't skip levels, but you can go faster through them, right? And mentorship is one of the fastest way to do that. You know, why read a book? Well, I'm going to read a book because probably somebody is a subject matter expert, and they've had 30, 40 years experience, and they distilled it down into a book, right? That's mentorship. It's just not interactive. Real mentorship is interactive, and it's contextual to your own situation. So it's the biggest cheat code out of all. If you had all the experts and all the different things that you're trying to accomplish in your life readily accessible at every moment of the day, to ask them any questions you wanted to achieve and conquer any problem that you set in front of, there's no reason why you wouldn't speed through them. It's getting access to that. That's the hard part.
You're right. And going back to what you said, collapse time.
There you go. That's a cool way to say it.
Right?
Totally.
So when we opened this Met Spa a few years ago, in the beginning, we got an amazing consultant from the aesthetic world. An individual, shout out to Kelly Smith. She's our good friend now. She opened a bunch of them, and she sold them. And now she does consulting. And the value I got from that, Brett, it was like, the investment was worth every penny and more.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning from someone who's been there on the journey. I was so funny the other day. I talked to my mother-in-law. She was visiting from South Florida. She's like, "Oh, son, I'm so proud of you. And what do you think contributed to your growth?" And I go, "I invest a lot of money, and not only money, my time and resources. If I'm sitting here with you, yes, I want to share your message with my audience. But it's for me too. Mm-hmm. I'm learning from you." You know, and so at my time away from my office right now, my other meetings, just invest my time. So I invest my time, my resources, my money into learning. And Kelly Smith, our consultant, she was able to bring us from here to here much faster if it was just me and my wife doing our own. Yeah. People don't understand that. People get success in sales and make a few bucks, and they go get the BMW right away, or the nice suits right away, or the Rollies, whatever these things are. Or go pop a bottle at a club or take a trip, which is fine. I'm not saying anything wrong with that. I was once in my 20s, and I wasted a lot of money doing things. But my biggest thing from me, take away from my audience, would be, as soon as you got some money going, yes, the books are amazing, the podcasts are amazing, the audiobooks are amazing, but invest in mentorship. And sometimes you don't have to, and you don't always have to pay them for their time. If an individual comes to you, a 20-year-old comes to you outside at the studio, and you feel it from their eyes and their soul, they really will take your time, 10 minutes of a phone call with you, and that could impact their life. Mm-hmm. You would do it in a heartbeat.
Totally. Totally. It's if you as a person who can give the advice, if you feel like the other person's going to do something with it,
Bingo.
the desire to reciprocate that is way higher. If you don't feel like someone's going to use it and they don't have the usefulness of themselves, right? They don't have the track record of actually doing the thing or trying the thing, you're just not going to waste your time with it. So I agree. I think it just comes down to, hey, if I can give 10 minutes of my time but have a drastic impact, well, that's worth my time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the same way up the chain, up the ladder. You know, I mean, I'm still to this day, I'm trying to get in those same rooms.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to do that today. Yeah, and that's I don't think that ever goes away.
No, it goes away. It shouldn't go away.
Yeah.
Right. In PBD, Patrick Bet-David still has his mentors, his different levels, right? The levels change.
That's right.
But the philosophy is still the same.
Totally.
Your company, you guys are into a very interesting setup. In the beginning, I just thought you were just a basic insurance company. Knock on the door, I want auto, I want house, I want, residential insurance. But you do more than that. Your business model, correct me if I'm wrong, if I am an insurance rep in your company and I get to a certain level, I can go ahead and branch on my own under the branding of your company?
That's right. Yeah, we call it an independent operator program. So
talk about that.
When we started the company, we wanted to create a vehicle to create this abundance. It would be fictitious to say, look, you have to be able to create a vehicle that's good enough for you to create it for yourself first, right? It's like, and then you can make an impact on others. But it was always the intention to create this cool, amazing product that would give people a path to unlimited. It's because that's what we were looking for. We showed up in this type of, with Urban Young, it wasn't intentional. I was working at different places and the model and what we were trying to create didn't exist. And that's where Urban Young was created. We were trying to create a team inside somebody else's agency and it just didn't exist. So we had no choice but to start our own. And it was always centered around giving people the path to unlimited, right? I think we all have the desire to grow subconsciously or consciously, but there's a price to be paid for that. And up the ladder, all of us decide what price is at the top of our price that we're willing to pay. But for the individual that wants to keep going up the ladder, they're willing to make more deposits and pay the bigger price for the bigger prize. And multiple different places that a lot of us had been before, you just always felt capped. You always felt there was a ceiling. You always felt like, well, in order for me to do something different and create what I want, I'd have to leave here. And we never wanted that. So we created an independent operator model, which was we've created a very successful insurance agency. And then what we did was we said, okay, we have the blueprint for that. And you can go out and if obviously with the enough volume written internally, we give people access to be able to do that and basically own their own branch. And so right now, I think we have 8 of those across the state, which is really cool. We just opened in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then we also just opened in Swanee, Georgia, which is really cool. And so the program is really fun because it's giving these producers the ability to have that true path to unlimited and to stamp out the same model that was able to be successful here for us. And it's fun for us because we're getting to relive the journey again.
Each time, location.
Yeah, these guys and gals are going through the same challenges and the same struggles and the same, your scratch startup. And some of them are buying agencies and we're rolling them in. Some are starting from scratch. They've got employees, they have teams. Yeah, we have both options. We're in the middle of doing 3 acquisitions right now. The M&A market's really hot. We're doing a lot of stuff in the space. But, we're encouraging and fanning the flame of entrepreneurship. And we're taking individuals that learn the insurance business, then learn the sales side of the business, learn the service side of the business, and then got curious about what it would be like to, enterprise something. And through that process of learning and developing and growing and learning these new tools and skills, realize that, this is America and this is the land of opportunity. And there's no cap to what you can achieve as long as you're willing to pay the price. And, they've got the itch to go out and plant their own flag and start their own agency. And so we're creating this really cool, cohesive network of, Urban Young offices all across the Southeast who believe in the development of the individual for the collective success of the team. And it's been really fun to watch, really, really fun to watch.
Was this approach, this added value, working along you 3. Was that always in the initial plan?
Yes.
Okay, from to the blueprint, you guys got together 15 years ago. You guys sat there
Yep.
and say, "Hey, let's draw this out. What's the vision? What's the mission from day one?"
Yeah. Because I think we're all able to help the person that we once were, and what drew us to the business became the reason as to why we wanted to create it. We just felt like there was other people out there that were like us, right? Our mission is to create extraordinary lives. Like, we were compelled for this business because we thought it could be something unbelievably impactful to our families and give us everything we wanted: time, freedom, wealth, money, the ability to create a legacy. And if we could do that, then being able to help other people do that would be an incredible extension of the model, you know? And that's where I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own, right? Like, so if you give enough to others, right, you're going to have plenty for yourself. I think Zig Ziglar, said that. So this is the components that made up the mission. And to be able to be in a position now where we've solved a lot of the problems that people will deal with, and to watch some of these guys and gals, what took us 8 years, they've done it in 3.
Collapse time.
And they've collapsed time. And to be a part of that is just, it's so cool. It's so cool. I think it will be our legacy. I think it will be what Urban Young ends up being known for.
Love it.
I think, when the sun sets, that will be what I'm most proud of is, and it's the team members in those offices too. It's not just that you have to be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur and go open an office. We've got, people that have forged new cities and opened new offices. Now they have 3, 4, 5, 6 employees that are now doing really well. It's like the exponential impact on the system has just been drastic. And I think we're just getting started. It's going to be really far reaching.
So I'm going to add something for you today. You said legacy. The individual I came across, Vic Tippenis, started a sleep apnea company 10 years ago. He's in Tampa.
Yeah.
You heard of him?
I follow him on Instagram. Yeah.
Dude, what a stud, right?
Yeah, total stud.
He had $80 in his bank account 9-10 years ago. Jeez. So I sat with him like this. We had a bunch of conversations, trying to get him on the podcast one day. We'll see what happens. And recently he had a whole conversation on his private jet with his mentor flying somewhere. And he says to his mentor, he goes, "Listen, I am not here to make a legacy, as most people do, as my thought was too. He goes, I'm here to make a dynasty."
Damn.
Right?
That's deep.
That's deep.
Love that.
And it changed my paradigm like this. He goes, well, legacy is one thing you've done before, but the work I'm doing is my kids and my family and my key players. His table of knights, his Ocean's 11, right, so to speak. And for y'all, you guys open multiple offices. I think the better word for you, this is my gift for you today, the dynasty.
Damn.
That one day you guys will leave behind, and to leave it forward.
It's really cool. Yeah, maybe it's the difference between what has happened versus the perpetuation of something that continues. So
that's amazing work, man.
It's really cool.
I get emotional thinking about what you guys have done, man.
I appreciate it.
I remember last year, I think we were talking. We were supposed to meet. And he's like, "Listen, man, I would love to come see you, but you have to go out of town. Be open an office."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, I wonder the challenges with that comes, and the excitement and the.
It's everything. It's all the above, man. I've never been more excited in my professional career. There are times where I've never been more scared in my professional career. You're doing things that you don't know how to do, and is the purest sense of the form. And the leader has the ability to charge into the unknown and look around and say, "Hey guys, I don't know the answer. We don't know the answer, but I know if we're together, we'll figure this out." And I feel alive doing that, and it's alive and well. So there's a lot of things to work out. There's a lot of challenges to overcome, but the more progress you have in any craft, I think that just becomes more prevalent. I don't think that ever goes away. So, getting comfortable with just being uncomfortable. It's the same process when I first got in the insurance business. I didn't know anything. There are different challenges, but they all kind of rhyme, right? They all if you take a step back far enough, they all look somewhat similar. It's just the mind will confuse you and try to trick you into thinking that, well, this one's different.
No.
And it's not.
All the same.
It's not.
Before I let you go, one big takeaway, because this interview is exactly a year apart, maybe, give or take.
Yeah, close.
What one I'm sure you have a lot of takeaways, a lot of new experiences. One takeaway that comes to your mind, you want to share with my audience. And number two, before you go, your daily routine, has it changed at all? So start with the one takeaway.
Whew. It's okay to be fearful as long as you're courageous. There is something liberating with understand that we all are confined to the human experience, and being fearful or not knowing the answer or playing out all the what if scenarios is a normal human trait.
Wow.
I don't think it matters how successful you are. I don't think it matters how novice you are. That never goes away. But that isn't what defines courage. Courage is about doing it in spite of the fear. And so instead of trying to not be fearful, I would say a more productive viewpoint on it would be to focus on having strength and courage. It's just in my opinion, it's a much more noble, soft, empowering thought process. You know, so there's nothing wrong with you if you don't know the answer and you feel like, I don't know how this is going to end. You know, that's where trust comes in. That's where surrender comes in. That's where you better be grounded in something bigger than yourself. But and the bigger the problems that you face, and the more success that you have, the more challenge will come, and the more pressure the vice of life grips on you. And learning how to navigate with that is a much more empowering skill set than trying to release all the pressure. It doesn't exist.
Love it. Wow. Man, blown away, man. Anything new to your routine? I know you guys work out the first thing in the morning, but
you know, my routine's pretty consistent.
Day after day.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I've been heavily focused on is making sure that I take my son to school. It doesn't happen every day. You know, there's meetings, there's stuff that comes up, but you know, he's in 5th grade and I take him on the golf cart, and you know, I think you hit me up on Instagram one day. I posted something about, you know, I'm going to miss this. You know, I have a daughter that's going to be coming behind him, but he's going to be gone. He's going to go to 6th grade and that'll be over. So there's this balance of life that, you know, I want to get up and I want to get after it and I want to get an early start to the day. But then there's also this precious moment in time to where, you know, there's only so many of those drop-offs left. So I'm a lot more aware of that right now in this season. One of the things I do, I go to Waffle House probably two days a week with the kids, just me, and it's kind of our thing. And it allows me to have consistency of making time for them, you know, and because life gets crazy, and if it's not scheduled, if it's not part of your routine. So now every day they come and they go, Dad, are we going to go to Waffle House? And I love it. And it's my time to hang with them. It's very simple. It's very casual. But, you know, my dad did that with me when I was younger. And it was probably one of the most profound memories that I had. And I know that will be impactful for them. It's just the little conversations and the little fun things that seem to make, you know, no difference at all. But, you know, they added up over a long period of time, make this really, really core, cool connection memory with their dad. So
amazing.
That's been pretty cool lately too.
That's amazing. Well, man, thank you for jumping on. It's been an honor to have you on here. It's an honor to have you as a friend.
You too, man.
Seriously, you know, I have a deep admiration for you, all you three and your families, and I know you've been through some personal stuff a year ago. We talked about it before. Yeah. You know, anytime you want to talk to me, man, I lost some people in my personal life. I'm here for you.
Thank you.
You know, and love and hugs and kisses to your family. Where can we find you? Social media?
Man, I'm an Instagram guy and a LinkedIn guy.
Yep.
So I'm pretty heavy on LinkedIn. I'm pretty heavy on Instagram. So man, if you want to connect, shoot me a DM. I'd love to collaborate. It's always fun. I feel like it's like a second friend group, man. It's amazing. There's this digital you, and I have all these relationships with people that even some of them I haven't even met. So it's really cool.
I love that.
The other thing we do is we have the Be Extraordinary podcast, but we've created the BEP community. So if you go to my Instagram handle, you'll see a link to that community. It's free. It's a high-level mastermind where we talk about all things business, personal development, and leadership related. It's people from all over the country now, so it's really cool. So hop in there, make your voice heard, learn from others, collaborate. Really cool way to connect.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
D, how we do, man? We're on time? What'd you think, man?
Loved it.
Loved it. Unpacked a lot of stuff, man.
Loved it. Loved it.